Hi, everybody, and welcome to Cope with Hope. Today I have Lorena Espiga with me, all the way from the Caribbean, the Caribbean Queen, to tell us about her experience of channeling, receiving messages from the Masters and the Lords of the Akashic Records, and later on in another episode, we'll be talking about flower essences and their impact on her life. So I met Lorena because I did her course, which she does with her sister, called the Soul Tribe Academy course of Akashic Records Level 1 at, in Udemy. And I was really impressed. I wanted to learn more about the Akashic Records. I was already practicing and working with them, but I just wanted to go deeper. And with their course, I really learned a lot. She's a brilliant teacher. So let me ask Lorena to tell you a little bit about herself.
Okay, so I am an Akashic Records reader and a teacher. I also work with flower essences, like you were saying. But really, the Akashic Records is my, I feel to be my purpose, my passion, and how I help people.
Yes.
Through either teaching or opening other people's Akashic Records, which I think has been such an amazing experience in like my world. It wasn't really what I was doing even 4 years ago.
Okay.
So it's something, well, I had learned to read, like I read my own Akashic Records, and that was a big journey for me. And it was very difficult for me to connect because of a lot of issues with, just not loving myself and not feeling worthy of having a spiritual connection or connecting to myself. And once I got over that hurdle, the Akashic Records kind of called me back basically, and made me feel like it needed to be a part of my life, and not only for myself, but to help others. Because I think that's where I'm really finding my purpose these days. And obviously our podcast and all of that. But it's such a beautiful way to connect to yourself and heal and understand yourself a little bit better, I think. Has that been your experience too, do you think, with the
absolutely?
With the
and what I love the most about Akashic Records is that anyone can do it. Number one, anyone can do
Yes.
it. It's about healing yourself in this moment. I think we all want to learn to live our lives in a better way, be it whatever we're doing. And thirdly, it's so non-judgmental. Your
I love
records
that.
never
That's my favorite part.
judge you. That's my favorite part, you know. You're never judged. Nobody, you're not judged at all for no matter what it is. And that's a
Yeah.
lovely thing for me.
That's a good point you're saying, because I always felt like I judged myself so much.
Same here.
All the time. It was like nothing's perfect. I was hard on myself.
Yeah.
I found it difficult just to find moments of peace with myself and
Yes.
with my life and where I was and what I was doing.
Yes.
And the moment that I really opened up to the information and understood why it was in my life, it was like, okay, now I can start to really understand myself from a place of a very neutral place, right?
Yes.
And a place that is unconditional love and knowledge. And your soul, the masters and guides only want the best for you. They want you to learn the lessons you've come to learn in this life, to understand yourself and to live in harmony, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is that they're not selfish. It's not just best for you, it's best for all concerned always.
Exactly.
So especially as a mother, you know, and I'm much older than you guys, but as mothers, you just fret about all the mistakes you've made because there's so many of them. So many mistakes you make with your children, and I've suffered so much judging myself, and I feel, oh my God, I was terrible. But with Akashic Records, you can view yourself in a softer light, and you can move on, you know, and you can embrace yourself for all that you didn't know at that time, and embrace yourself now for all that you're wiser knowing, without, again,
Completely. And like you were saying, the present moment, right?
Yeah.
It's all about the present moment and where you're at now. But you can look at the past a little bit for it to teach you what you need to be like looking at and healing and dealing with now.
Exactly.
And it's not about projecting everything into the future either, because if we're not healed right now, the future is going to be a little bit uncertain. We're not going to understand where we need to go, or, we want to understand what decisions to make. So I like what you
Yes,
said, and it's very much about the present moment and
very
healing
much.
things now.
It's not a blame game. I love the Akashic records for that. There's no blame. You don't sit and blame your mother and blame your father and blame your, your
Yeah.
circumstance and blame your teacher. You take full accountability and responsibility for the decisions and the steps you've taken. And then
Yep.
from that, you can help heal yourself. I love that.
100%. I love how you put that. That's exactly the energy behind them.
Yeah.
And I think people maybe don't realize that. So this is good that we're talking about this, because I think they like, a lot of people might feel like, oh, they're just going to tell me what I've done wrong, or what I have to do. It's like, no, you need to figure that out yourself too, through
Yes.
that process of learning and
Yes.
understanding yourself. And those realizations will come, and you're going to understand yourself and have those light bulb moments. And it's beautiful. I've had those through the Akashic Records, and they've
Yeah.
changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like with your course, we have to do, guys, you have to do 45 days, consistently. And that was a very, very good discipline. I think anything you do, you have to be disciplined to give that commitment. Like
Yeah.
even to you're committed, the universe sees how committed you are and opens up that and beyond for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes a person,
Yeah. And that's so true.
yeah, you know,
Yeah. And I think also with the practice, you're creating a relationship with your masters, your guides, the beings of light,
yes,
the universe, whatever you connect with. It doesn't matter. You can be
yeah,
connected to a religion even, right?
yeah,
It's like whatever you connect with, you're building that relationship and making it stronger and trusting.
yes,
And you need that time to
yes.
create and solidify that, so that after that you have the connection. It's already there. It's like you already have the key, and you can use
Yeah,
it whenever you want. I kind of like
yeah.
looking at it that way.
I like that. You have the key to use whenever you want. I really like that.
Yeah.
So, will you tell us a little bit about Akashic Records and channeling?
Okay. I can definitely talk from my experience,
Yeah,
because I'm sure everybody as a channel is very different.
yeah,
And even within just the Akashic Records, it can be, yeah, I've gotten readings from many different people, even, and it's always a different energy and experience. That's what I love about it too, because everybody brings their own kind of energy into it.
yeah,
But the Akashic Records ultimately is this, well, we kind of like to look at it as a library with all of the information from every soul that is, has been, or will be.
yes,
And it really contains all of the information from our soul. So we have access to that. So that information can be, things you felt, things that you need to, like karmic lessons, desires, relationships, soul contracts, pretty much anything, right?
yeah,
We also like to say that the future is a little bit uncertain, because free will is such a huge part of our soul contract in when you reincarnate, right?
yeah,
Or when you incarnate. So that's also taken into account within the information.
yeah,
And the idea here is that not only you like can learn to read your own, somebody else can open your own Akashic records.
yes,
And when you read your own, the idea is that you're going to access the Akashic records through a prayer or a verse. Um, and you have to put intention, you have to have good intentions to open them up.
yes,
And from there, you're going to ask questions and receive information through the channeling process.
yes,
Channeling can be very different for me, for you. I'm sure we might be different channelers. For
yes,
me, it's a lot about feeling, especially when I open other people's Akashic records, and I get a lot of sensations, feelings. I also get visions,
yes,
but it's a lot of words. So when I do a reading for somebody, I talk a lot, which I'm generally, if you know me, I don't talk a lot.
yes,
I have my Akashic records open now, actually, so that I kind of use them to communicate better, to connect with myself, because I get quite nervous when
yes.
people are like asking me questions, or
I would never
I don't
know.
know.
You got nervous?
Thank you. I always talk about that on the podcast. Actually, I'm always
Yes,
like, I like to be very open with people, and show them how it has changed my life, and
yes,
how this tool is not only about channeling, it can also be about it helping you through different things like
yes,
studying, or feeling more confident or flowing, being more creative and connecting more with like your inner child. It can be so many things, but the channeling would be where the healing comes, right? That's
Yeah.
where we receive the messages, we understand ourselves, and we connect with ourselves. And I think that's been a huge part for me, connecting with myself, because that was always something really hard. And the moment that I would open my own Akashic Records, when I started to solidify that relationship and that connection, I felt such a deep connection with myself and love and acceptance. It was like, I don't know, it felt like someone was hugging me. Do you know what I mean? And I felt
Yes.
peace.
Yes.
And even when I would get readings from other people, it was like I would leave that reading feeling so connected to myself and feeling like, okay, this all makes sense now. Even though I didn't get all of the answers I needed, because a lot of things I need to figure out on my own,
Yeah.
it all makes sense. And I know I'm here for a reason. I just need to figure that out. I don't know it all right now.
Yeah.
It will present itself, right?
Yeah. So tell me, you were saying that, like, for now, for example, you've opened your records now. So when we
Yeah.
finish our call, you close it immediately, or you wait a bit, or
It depends. For example, today I know I was going to come on the call with you, and I wanted to make sure that I was very aligned and that I
yes,
would connect with you and I would
yes,
connect with your audience. And then afterwards, I need to do some work, so I'll probably leave it open for a little bit. But I'm not
yes,
channeling, right? I
okay,
might channel a little bit during this call, some things that come through, but I'm not necessarily asking questions and sitting down and channeling. That to me is more grabbing my notebook or my journal and then having questions and asking them. And I use that a lot actually. I like to journal a lot, and
yes,
it's helped me through therapy and everything, but I kind of combine it with the Akashic Records. So I'll
yes,
have a part where I'll just write out my emotions, and then another part where I'll ask the deep questions for my healing.
yes,
So today, for example, I'll probably have them open for a few hours
okay,
while I do some creative work and some writing. It really helps me kind of flow more with my words.
yes,
Otherwise, I would just close it, yeah, when I'm done, and then open it again later if I needed to.
okay, okay, that's wonderful.
But I also, now I'm remembering, I have a reading at 2 o'clock, so I don't want to have my records open for too long,
Yeah,
um, because otherwise I will probably feel too tired. So
yes. So, do you have a message for the audience right now?
if I have a message for them,
Yeah, or for now, for anything?
they're using the word enlightenment. And I think this is more for you than for the audience. And obviously they're attracted to you because of this. They're using the word enlightenment. And I think your channel and your message is a lot about enlightenment and connecting with people and allowing them to find their truth
Yes,
and find a way into that truth for themselves. So what you're doing here is literally enlightening people with information and connection through the guests that you have on and the words that you use and how you're just using your purpose to do something a little bit different, which I find really beautiful.
thank you. Yes, thank you so much. And you guys have really helped me. Yeah, I just feel so connected to you and to Lucia. I feel very connected to you
Thank
because
you.
I feel
I
we've
loved when
been,
you reached out. It was so nice. I love
yeah,
hearing from people and their experience in their projects and what they're doing.
yeah,
It's good to share that with
yeah.
people.
I so strongly experienced that, when I used to hear your voice when you were talking, Lorena, and I just said, I have to reach out to her. Yeah, so that's
Oh,
what first happened. And then while we were emailing each other back and forth, Lucia's name was written across the rock. So it was very clear that I was very connected to both of you.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and I
amazing.
knew that I know it took a while for us to coordinate this because of
Yeah,
the time difference
yeah,
and the back and forth, but
yes,
I knew we were going to have a call with you. I just knew it
yeah,
too. And I
same.
said, there's something about this that feels like we need to just go on and we need to just chat about the
Yeah,
Akashic Records. And I loved how you approached us. It felt so beautiful. It was very different than I think, I don't know, I just had a different energy about it. It was kind of like something I was like intrigued by, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does. I wanted to bring you out to the audience because I feel even if a few people can connect to this, I really feel it's such a powerful healing method. And I love the way you people taught it. You know, it was just so simply and beautifully and it's with so much clarity. It was so easy to do,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
that's our purpose. Like that's what we say on the podcast, that's what we say in the course. We want to teach people, we don't want to be like, we don't want to be this kind of, how do I explain it? We want to show up in a way that people understand what we're saying, because
Yes,
some concepts can feel a little foreign to some people, and even
yes,
to me they were at some point, right?
yes,
And when they would speak to me in these, like, and I'm saying they, like my teachers would
yes.
speak to me in these terms that I didn't quite understand, especially at the beginning, because our idea was always like, a lot of people are new to all of
Yeah,
this. And I don't want to be like trying to speak all fancy, because that's not me either. And that's not
no,
Lucy either. We're
no,
very
yes,
straightforward with,
yes,
we didn't want to make it all tricky or make it look difficult, because the
yes,
reality is exactly what you said a little while ago. It's anyone has access to the Akashic Records. That's your right. We
yes,
all have that right. We just need to
yes,
make sure we have that drive and that calling to them,
yes.
and having just a good intention of just healing ourselves and getting information for our higher good. That's all.
That's it. And you maintain that. Never in your course do you say, oh, you're going to make more money and now you're going to attract this. It's just simple healing yourself and feeling better and living a more authentic life. That's
Totally.
so
Yeah.
cool. The message is so cool
Yeah.
and clear. That's great. You're not making some great, ridiculous promise, which is lovely.
No. And the reality is, like you were saying, right? It's, we can give you all of the information
Yeah.
and it's very clear. Like you said, it's straightforward, it's quick,
Yes.
but then you have to do your work.
Yes.
We can't do that work for you. So you have to make that decision of saying, okay, I'm going to do my practice after this
Yeah.
course finishes. And that's
Yeah.
where the magic happens. That's where the connection is solidified. And that's where you're going to start to receive. Although I know there's a lot of people that can connect like that, right?
Yes.
They have no issues, they have no problems, but that's
Yes.
not generally the case. Most
No.
people have to work at it. And that's part
Yeah.
of us wanting it bad enough to want to connect to it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I did the formal course with you, there'd be days when I was just told, you just have to be patient. And I should just sit there quietly and just receive peace and healing. And actually, since I was 5 years old, I've been receiving messages. So I always knew that there
Wow.
was something else to life than what meets the eye. But I like this formal way of doing it. And, even though I have done soul missions and soul contracts and I've taught them and past life regressions, but I found this very healing and a very peaceful way of connecting with my masters and guides and loved ones.
Yeah, and
And
I
the
think
angels.
that's also what you're saying, the formality of it. It's, you have a verse to open
Yes,
them up. And
yes,
I think that's where a lot of people, especially this in our courses, they've said, like, they felt like they were connecting. They didn't know what they were connecting to, right?
yes, yes,
And then when they had that verse and they knew and they could ask, are my Akashic records open? They
yes,
trusted more. So it's just like
exactly.
this extra step, right? But
Yes,
maybe they were already doing it in their own way or
yes.
connecting to something else.
I think it's
So
taken
I
me
think that's
deeper.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's taken me
Yeah,
deeper into the practice. And I do feel that you can never learn enough. You
of
always have to
course.
be open to learn more. And I'm so grateful. My sister actually connected me with you guys. So
Really?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it just
Oh,
everything like rang so many bells as I learned them. And I think that it's important to actually go through those 45 days
I agree.
and just
Yeah,
sit.
I gave up. I gave up when I was younger. And I'm
I can
talking like,
imagine.
I was probably like 23.
Mm,
I'm 40 now.
mm,
And I remember I just felt so lost. And I was like, I'm not receiving anything. I'm not getting anything. And I
mm.
gave up for years. I
Yes,
just put them to the side. I did my practice. I did like the whatever amount of days that the teacher gave me.
yes,
And I sat with my journal and I wrote down stuff and I felt very in my head. until a few years ago that I came across my manual and I said, okay, I'm going to pick it up again. I did level 1 again. I studied it again.
Okay.
And all of a sudden it all clicked. And then I did level 2 and then just kept going. And I was just like, okay, this is
good.
there's a reason. And I was even doing a video the other day and explaining, because obviously I moved to the Cayman Islands about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I packed, I got rid of a lot of things in Uruguay and I packed my bags. I think I came here with like 3 suitcases, which is a lot. And within the paperwork and like papers that I brought, there were some books, and one of them was my Akashic Records manual.
Oh.
And I wasn't using the Akashic Records 5 years ago. So I was like, I think something inside of me knew that I was going to reconnect with it and it was going to be a part of my life, because I didn't bring a lot of stuff. So I was like, especially not paperwork and manuals and books, I just didn't.
Yeah.
So I find that like a sign. I knew that it was going to happen. Yeah.
And look, you guys have taught so many people, and so many people have benefited from it, which is really
it's
good.
nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. And so, besides this, what do you do, Lorena?
So mainly, what my passion, if I could just do one thing the rest of my life, it would probably be like teach the Akashic Records, do Akashic Record reading. So I definitely read for other people.
Yes.
I also work a lot with flower essences, so flower essence remedies. And then apart from that, outside of the spiritual world, I have a virtual assistance company. So I kind of like personal assistance, marketing. Yeah. And then we also help people with their podcasts. So we've kind of started that aspect because we feel like it's so important for people to get their message and their voice out. And a lot of people need the drive to start their podcast or to know how to set it up, and they just won't do it. So we're helping a few people with that, and it's felt really nice because it's all in the spiritual realm, people that need to get a message out or their voice heard.
Yes.
And tell their stories. So it feels really purposeful too in that sense. And that's about it, I think.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And then, all the courses and all that, of course. Yeah.
That's a lot. What does the word hope mean for you? What does hope mean for you?
Hope to me feels like liberation. Yeah. Because if we don't have hope, what do we have? Do you know what I mean? To me, hope is like, I'm getting like goosebumps just saying that. It feels so aligned. Like we all need to feel hope in some way in our life, because if we don't, it's like we give up. Yeah. We don't. What are we fighting for? To me, hope also feels a lot connected to like purpose and alignment and your mission, because all of us, like even with my purpose of the Akashic Records, I have a lot of hopes attached to that. I hope people open up and become more spiritual. I hope people connect to themselves and heal themselves. I hope people feel empowered within this ability to connect to themselves. There's a lot of hopes with it. Yeah. So I do feel like it's very attached sometimes to people and their purpose and their mission, and just living a more authentic and aligned life to what feels right for you and not anybody else.
It's beautiful. Living a more authentic life. It's right for you and not for anybody else. Wow. So tell us a little bit more about that. What you feel is living an authentic life.
I think a part of that needs to be spiritual connection. And I mean, maybe I'm a little biased in that sense because I'm an Akashic Records reader, but I just remember those moments in my life when I was younger and would get like an Akashic Records reading every 6 months, because that was just kind of what I was doing. I wasn't a reader at that time. Yeah. And I remember leaving that reading every time feeling so connected to the universe, to everyone, to everything, to my purpose, to my lessons, to my struggles, and wanting to feel that way all of the time. And I don't feel that way all of the time, but if I need that feeling, I just connect to myself. Yes. And it doesn't have to be through the Akashic Records all of the time. That could be meditating. That could be you doing breath work. It could be doing yoga. Yeah. It could just be sitting in silence. Yeah. It could be playing with your dog or going out in nature. it could be very different for everybody. So I don't think spirituality necessarily is just the Akashic Records or a religion. It could be anything that we make spiritual. It's the intention we put behind it.
Absolutely.
I think being authentic is also completely understanding yourself, loving yourself, like you were saying about being a mom and feeling like you made so many mistakes. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to have to pick myself up, and I need to forgive myself time and time again and keep aligning and balancing myself and being able to show up as that authentic version of myself. Because for me, it was always like, I was always so hard on myself. I still am a little bit, of course. It's still a journey. You're going to do that the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's being able to say no, or being able to go for the opportunities and the things that I have a passion for, even though someone might think I'm crazy, or someone might think that I'm dreaming too big, or that it doesn't make sense, or they don't understand it. It's okay. This feels right to me. I'm going to listen to myself. I'm going to listen to my intuition and live my life, not anybody else's. Because it's easy to fall into that trap of having to live somebody else's life.
Oh, yes.
It's so easy. And I don't want that. And I think most people don't want that. It's just scary to figure out what that authenticity is, because we're so, bombarded with ideas and things all the time.
All the time, especially now.
Yeah.
Wow,
especially now.
Beautifully said. And will you tell us 3 things that sort of are your mantra? 3 most important things for you?
Wow, that's a good question. I've kind of done a lot of journaling in the last week or so. And really just trying to align myself back to what's important. I think health and well-being in general, and I attach that also to my spirituality, and this mantra of what is most aligned for me. And I'm not always going to make the right decisions, right? I'm not always going to eat the right food or do the exercise all of the time, but I'm going to strive for being balanced and having just well-being in general and feeling alive, because that's going to help me feel better. It's going to help me spiritually. It's going to help me with my relationships. It's going to help me just feel alive. So I don't know if I have a specific mantra around that, but I think it's kind of always bringing it back. Like, is this serving me in some way? Is this bringing me closer to where I want to be? And trying to be more introspective in that sense, because I think sometimes it's easy to just go about your day and have your habits and have your routines, and then not check in with yourself.
So important.
And then another would be kind of, for me, it's been really hard to dream big and to really figure out what I desire and what I want in my life, because I've always been trying to please people and help others. So now it's really bringing the focus back to me and asking myself, like, what do I really want? And where am I living in lack? And where am I needing to just kind of break certain ideas down because it was something that somebody else gave me, like my mom or my dad or a family member, and being like, okay, no, that might be their truth. That's not my truth. So figuring out what my truth is, and kind of asking myself that, am I like, because I'll find myself a lot of times like thinking of ideas or what I want to do or a project I have, and being like, I'm not sure that's like necessarily right for me, or maybe I'm not capable of that. And having to always remind myself, no, you're capable. If this is something I'm feeling or dreaming about or thinking about, it was put there for a reason. And I just have to make sure I have the right intention and just connect with it and just believe in myself. And I guess that would be my last one. Just believing in myself. That's been, I can believe in myself. I love myself, and I can do anything that I want.
I love that.
And I think we all can.
I can believe in myself. I love myself, and I can do anything that I want. Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. It's all about self-love for me because it's been so hard.
Thank you so much. That was lovely. And next week, Lorena is going to speak to us about flower essences.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, but thank you for coming on. I really appreciate that.